Good evening and welcome to Points in the Paint. I am Doug, he is Sam, and we are back to talk some NBA. It is NBA All-Star season. The starters were named last week. The reserves were named just a couple of hours ago. So we are ready to jump in there and take a look at that. Looks like we will also be joined by, let me add him real quick, Mr. Joe Winkle as well. So, Joe, welcome to the show.
What's up, everybody? You guys got me? Hey, there we go. We're live. What's up, folks?
How's it going, sir? All right. So, let's start with the starters that were named last week.
All right. How are we doing, man?
Some time to kind of think about those guys. So, let's start on the East side. Kevin Durant, Giannis, Joel Embiid, Trae Young, who was a bit of a surprise for folks, and DeMar DeRozan in there. So out of those five, Trae Young is kind of the guy. Now he's one of my favorite guys, but he is one of the guys that people were kind of a little bit surprised that he got the nod there. Out of those five guys, who's kind of the guy who surprises you? Any of those names seem out of place there to you guys?
No, I think Trae Young is probably one of the better point guards in the Eastern Conference. If you look at starting point guards, I mean, our point Lonzo's out, but like numbers wise, he's probably putting up the best numbers among point guards in the East. So I'm not surprised. He's flashy. He's probably the most. I mean, out of all the other ones, Trae Young's the biggest surprise, but not really in a sense because I mean I'm looking at all the guards in the East too, like the point guards at least. Like Boston doesn't really have a all-star point guard, but Knicks don't. I mean Philly, no. Like name a team in the East with a dynamic point. I guess Kyle Lowry in Miami, but he can easily be like a replacement or something. But Trae Young's real popular.
Yeah, and Lowry's missed them. Yeah. Lowry's missed games. Young's like the only point guard in the East that hasn't missed games / I mean, you think of missed games and the combination of that with also the stats are there.
Yep.
I think the All-Star starters for the East are the right five. I'm glad DeMar got the nod. I mean, it was pretty unanimous that he would. There's some reserves that I saw today that I'm glad got in, and we'll get to them. But yeah, definitely happy for what we've got. Really, I mean, I don't know who's gonna. I guess the question's gonna be who's gonna replace Durant because I'm assuming he probably won't play in the game. But the rest of them were obvious. Led off by probably the MVP of the league in a landslide if Nikola Jokic didn't exist, because the numbers Embiid is putting up right now are absolutely stupid. But yeah, I think it was the right five.
Yeah, I agree. I think at some point flop Trae Young for Zach, and I think these were the five that I had voted for too. So yeah, I agree with both you guys. Yeah, that's probably the right five there.
Just at a point, there's not really a lot of all-star point guards in the East. I mean, Kyle Lowry's probably the only one, but he's a veteran, and Miami's okay, but Trae Young, he resonates more with the younger generation. He's a shooter, flashy passer. So yeah. I think he'll always get the nod for All-Star games and stuff like that.
Flipping over to the West. Yeah, go ahead. Sorry, Joe.
I was going to say the only other one that I'd be comfortable with, but I don't even think he made the reserves because he's the one I was looking out for. That's like all-star guard worthy, and he's more of a future up next kind of guy. Is LaMelo Ball. Because his numbers are pretty good. I mean, you're averaging 20 points, 7 rebounds, 7 assists as like a 20-year-old. That's pretty damn good.
I forgot about him, but he'll probably get the yeah.
So we'll see because he didn't make the reserves. I don't believe
he might be a replacement for Kevin Durant because he is like 6'8", so he can at least play a forward position. So if Zach don't make it, he could make it too. Yeah. And I mean, the Bulls already have DeMar, so they might. I mean, he could. He could make it. I wouldn't be surprised if he was a replacement.
Yeah, I was a little shocked that he didn't get selected. But yeah, as a starter, I mean, I spent 19. I guess we'll save it for like snubs, but yeah, that's just kind of one that I would have thrown up there. So
Jumping over then to the West, obviously LeBron, Nikola Jokic, your reigning MVP, Andrew Wiggins, Steph Curry, and Ja Morant are your starters there. Ja obviously being a first-time starter. Andrew Wiggins was the guy that surprised me there. Now maybe it's just because he's a West Coast team and I don't see them play nearly as much, but he was the guy that I was like, whoa, he was named a starter, but over say like a Luka Doncic or somebody like that. Out of those five, what are kind of you guys' thoughts on those five?
I think Wiggins is the biggest surprise. I saw that and I was like, wait, really? He got voted in, but maybe he's been playing he's probably been playing, some really good consistent ball, for Golden State. And I mean, obviously Steph's been balling out, so and then Draymond's there and Clay's back. So, but I mean, maybe he's been putting up numbers. He's kind of been doing what they wanted Kelly Oubre to do last year and been like that legit third option. I don't even really know what his numbers are, but Golden State's, they're doing really good. So that could be a nod to him, and maybe on the defensive side too. He's having a bigger impact, shutting down the wing players. I mean, he's probably one of the better perimeter defenders in the league now, especially with Kawhi being out, Paul George being out. It's like him and Jimmy Butler are like the top tier wing defenders. So
Here's the problem. When you mentioned his numbers, they're not great. He's the 25th leading scorer in the West, and he's an all-star starter. The problem with this is the system, the formaic system of having to have two guards, two forwards, and a center, because other guys that are more deserving, Devin Booker, absolutely. Devin Booker should be the fifth all-star starter. Let's just get that out of the way. The fifth all-star starter in the West should be Devin Booker. But he's a guard. You could have Luka because he's labeled as both. And if they're gonna label Luka as a potential forward, him not being there is pretty bad because he's averaging 25, 9, and 9.
he's a reserve.
Yeah,
I know he's a reserve, but just as like a starter.
Okay.
Wiggins, I would say Wiggins. I don't even know if Wiggins should even be in the All-Star game. That's
Joe froze on us there.
just me.
Mhm.
I'm not trying to be that. I don't want to be. Oh, you still got me? My bad.
Still got
You guys hear me? Okay.
Yep.
Mhm.
So yeah, I don't want to, I don't want to say it like be a hater, but I don't think Wiggins probably should even be in the All-Star game. That's just 25th leading scorer in the West. I feel like I don't know how much the fan vote plays into it.
I think we lost him again.
Yeah.
But I feel like that had to back a lot of him being able to be a starter. Do you guys keep losing me?
We got you. Yeah, we got you back now, but
Hello?
we just saw. Yeah.
Okay, my bad. That's weird.
No worries.
Let me.
Yeah. While Joe's trying to reconnect there, I was
Okay.
looking.
You guys can switch to
They did have the how the things are weighted in terms of the votes in there. I will see if I can endeavor and find that.
It's got to be more than just his numbers, though. I think the fact that he's having on a perimeter defense, because the Golden State's defense has been hellacious, and he's a real good cause of that. I think those numbers are what they're taking into account, which would make sense too, because he's focusing more on defense, not really, he scores, as need be. But yeah, that makes perfect sense then why he's why he got the nod. I think it's a long time. I think it's a long time coming. I mean, he's been in the league like 7 years now. I don't know if he's all-star, but he just never really lived up to what people wanted him to be. I still think like he's good enough to average like 28, 8, and like 8, 30, kind of like what LaMelo is. I mean, heck, even like 10 plus rebounds, he's that good, but just never really panned out. But
yeah. Did not find those percentages. But while we're here, let's talk about the big point they made last week, and obviously now taking a grain of salt that the standings have changed a little bit. But on TNT last week, they made the point that no team that was leading the conference, so at that point it was Miami in the East, Phoenix in the West, had an all-star game starter. Now, obviously, they've got those backfilled now in the reserves, but they thought it was just a little weird that as of that point, neither of those teams had an all-star game. So, Devin Booker's obviously worthy of doing that. Maybe Lowry over Young there to get the East.
I'm going to try to get this in with that point. As long as I don't know why am I still crapping out. I'm sorry that it is, guys. But that's tough to have that. Like, obviously for Phoenix, it's one thing because they have a gap. But for the East, like the top 6 teams are separated by like a game. So today, like I guess the Nets are on the losing streak, so they're a couple games back now. But like the Bucks could be the 1 seed today. The Bulls could be the 1 seed tomorrow. The Sixers could be the 1 seed or the next day. The freaking Cavs could be the 1 seed. Like that's all like going up and down. So like that's. I think Booker. What I was trying to say while I was cutting out earlier, I was talking about like Wiggins. I wouldn't have put him at all in like the All-Star game. I don't know if the fan vote had anything to do with it. I think there was a thing years ago that like Zaza Pachulia got the massive fan vote from Golden State and ended up being an All-Star starter. So I don't know if that weight had to do with anything because, like I was just saying, if you're putting forwards in, if you're going to say Luka's a forward, he should have been an All-Star. He should have been a starter.
Mm-hmm.
Devin Booker should be the 5th starter in the All-Star game. He's had a fantastic season on the 1 seed, the team that's clearly the best team in the NBA right now. In a year where there's more good teams in the NBA than ever, probably. Like there's more teams that you can actually say this team can win a championship or at least go to the finals and easily at least get to the conference finals than ever probably in the history of the league. The fact that the one team that is clearly at least not head and shoulders, but head above the league doesn't have an all-star starter is a bit unfortunate. And that's pretty bad. I don't want to hate on Wiggins, but Wiggins being an all-star is a bit bad. It's wild to me. It's wild to me.
Yeah. I found the voting breakdown. It is 50% fan vote, 25% media vote, 25% player vote.
So he probably got a large majority of fan votes, and he might have got some media votes, especially what he's done on the defensive side of the ball. And Golden State's. I mean, you figured Phoenix was going to be good this year. They were good last year, but Golden State being this good, one of the top teams in the West, kind of surprised some teams. I think that's more of a testament to the team's success and whatnot. Because if Clay had been playing, since the beginning of the year, it'd probably be Steph and Clay voted in, and Splash Brothers. But yeah, they had to get another guy, and Steph was going to get in, and heck, even Draymond got in. So, but yeah, I am surprised that Wiggins made it. But yeah, that fan voting, man, 50%.
Here, I want to ask you guys one thing. What's the process for captains being named? Because it's definitely not the 2 best players in each league in each conference. That was determined.
It's supposed to be the 2 top vote getters in each conference.
Yeah. Okay.
Yep.
So that's
right.
why it's KD. That's why it's KD and LeBron.
That's tough. That's unfortunate because the captain should be.
The West will always
captain should be Embiid, and
the East it'll always be somebody from a New York team. Yeah.
You think so?
Well, Giannis got the cap. Yeah, Giannis was the captain for a few years before Durant went to the Nets, or at least the year Durant was injured. But the 2 captains should be Jokic and Embiid, if we're being honest.
Right.
But, oh well. Plus, those 2 bantering, like, on the picks would be hilarious.
Yeah, hopefully they'll have them all mic'd up so we can
Jokic and yeah. Like, if it was Embiid, even if it was Embiid and LeBron, Embiid I think Embiid should have been named a captain. Yes, Embiid should have been named a captain just for the comedy purposes of when they pick the teams. That would have been hilarious.
Yeah, KD will take it seriously. He wants to win.
Yeah, KD's weird, dude. Like remember when he got mad during the USA thing when Bam on the bye was shooting the ball, like, and that kind of blew up. It's like he gets all angry and triggered by like all these little things. And I'm like the whole PJ Tucker thing in the finals last year, which I thought was really good. And then like with their buddies, and I mean, I don't know, like I thought he kind of overblew that too, whatnot. But
I think he's just competitive. He's just competitive.
Yeah, and that's
basketball purist.
He is competitive. There's no lie about that. I agree with you there.
All righty. So switching back to the reserves then. We'll start on the East side. since that is where my heart lies. So current Bull, Zach LaVine, made it for the second straight year. Former Bull, Jimmy Butler, along with Darius Garland from the Cavs, who's probably the city representative there. James Harden, Chris Middleton from the Bucks, Jason Tatum from the Celtics, and Fred VanVleet from the Raptors, who the Bulls are playing tonight. And they were talking about that during the game earlier. That Fred VanVleet is one of six, only 6 players in NBA history to go from undrafted player to the NBA All-Star game, and 2 of those 6 were guys that came over from the ABA. One of them being Moses Malone. Can't remember who the other guy was. So not something that happens a lot. So that's really kind of a cool thing for Fred VanVleet to hit that.
Fred VanVleet's a workhorse, man. I remember watching him in college at Wichita State, and then we see him balling out in the finals. And I mean, he's like the epitome of Jimmy Butler, unheralded, came in and literally made himself to an all-star, because you say the same thing about. I mean, Jimmy Butler wasn't undrafted, but he was late, round pick, and they already kind of pegged his ceiling. But man, I love Fred VanVleet's story, and just that in fact that he's playing at such a high level. Yeah. Well deserving. And I didn't even see Zach made it. I just saw that when you were saying at the bottom of the screen. I didn't see that when I first scrolled through there. So that's good too.
Yep.
But I mean, I know they had to give us a second player too, because we've been one of the top teams in the league.
Mm-hmm.
Chris Middleton.
I would like to see Zach start. Part of me kind of wanted to see Vooch here, but I can see why he's not. It's tough, and it's tough for those guys in the East. Even with as many double-doubles as he's turning out. But, yeah, so unfortunately not. Joe, anybody in the East? Anybody on the East side surprise you? Anybody? And we'll start with the surprises, and then we'll jump into the snubs. So anybody surprising there?
Okay, so surprises, not really. I guess I was a little surprised about Garland, but I'm excited. He deserves it. I mean, he is part of one of the soon-to-be best duos in the NBA for the next decade. Him and I could sit here for an hour and tell. Huh?
Colin Sexton?
No, Evan Mobley. I could sit here. I could sit here for an hour and tell you guys how Evan Mobley in 5 years is one of the 5 best players in the NBA. Like, he's ridiculous. I knew he wouldn't be an all-star just because of because of stats and stuff, but I'm glad Garland is. But yeah, the Cavs, I love the Cavs. The Cavs and the Grizzlies are like my 2 guilty pleasures this year for the NBA. Like, I absolutely love how those teams are put together and how they work. So I'm super hyped for Garland. I'm a huge Fred VanVleet guy. Rockford stand up. So glad that he's in. He's been great too this year. He'll get some all NBA buzz, especially if that team somehow makes the playoffs. If they don't sell at the deadline next week, which they might. I don't know what they're going to do. But he's been awesome. Look at the rest of the guys. Middleton's not a shock. LaVine obviously got to touch on him. He had to probably be one of the first reserves that were put in. He was top 5, top 6 in scoring throughout the beginning of the year before he got hurt for a bit. So he was great. Jimmy, obviously, being what he is on that team. So yeah, I wouldn't say there's any guys I would probably take out, because I think the one thing that's lacking in the East compared to the West is the bigs. So when you say Vucevic, I understand. I guess the one guy you would take out if you were to take out even for Vooch is probably Garland. But I think Garland definitely deserves to be in it. If you're going to have a guy from Cleveland in it, it would probably be him. He's got the best stats outside of. I'm pretty sure he's leading them in scoring. So you put him in. So I understand it. It's why LaMelo's not in it or Vooch. So I understand. And Bam probably not in it he's been injured a lot. He was healthy for most of the season. Yeah, if he was healthy throughout the most of the season, he would have probably been in it. So, yeah, I like what the East has. Really, it's a lot of guys deserving. The only real person I would say maybe is like on the fringe would have been LaMelo.
Yeah.
I think LaMelo will make it his third year. He probably could have made it this year because he's just box office, but he's still a young player at the end of the day. What is he, 20? Yeah, he's just not even 21. He might even be not. Yeah, he's super young. But
Yeah.
he might be an injury. He might be a replacement this year. I could see him getting voted in because he just has a feel for the game and a flair too. He's fun to watch.
Yeah. He is in the
Oh yeah, of
Rising
course.
Stars game.
Yeah.
With those. And we'll do those after we're done with talking about the reserves and stuff here. We'll run through those two rosters. But yeah.
All right. So you're saying I should have saved my Evan Mobley take for that?
Yeah, save your Evan Mobley take for that. Over there.
Okay, because I got stuff. Let me get off my chest.
Excellent. Okay, and then jumping over to the West side, like we talked about, Devin Booker is on there. Luka Doncic also. Rudy Gobert, Draymond we talked about. Donovan Mitchell, Chris Paul, and Karl Anthony Towns round out your West rosters over there. So thoughts on the West side?
Maybe Karl Anthony Towns is surprised, but he's probably putting up some big numbers. But maybe I think he said he wanted to play more defense. I know his defense has been kind of suspect, so maybe he is playing more on the defensive end, which makes sense. I mean, Minnesota's kind of they're just not good. They're just young. Yeah, I mean, I think Towns is probably the only one. Draymond, what he does for Golden State. That might just be, that's not a surprise there. He's not really an all-star, but he does a lot of good things for a really good team. So, but getting his just dues, but yeah, nothing for me.
Yeah, I like Cat making it. I've had my ups and downs with him, and whatnot. But they're seventh in the West right now, and he's played real good ball. So I think he's definitely deserving of being an all-star. Good to see, like we talked about, Devin Booker obviously probably should be a starter. Draymond being in it is a choice, but hey, you're averaging
He's injured.
Yeah.
So
I know
I think
they
just nominated him knowing that but we're going to replace him with somebody else. So both of the players technically get the All-Star, recognition that they were All-Stars, whether they're replacement or not. But yeah, I mean, there's
that's the thing. I wonder who's going to actually get it for him. That's what I'm interested in. I don't know who. I would have to just kind of look. But no, a lot of the guys in the West reserves wise all deserve it. The one thing I wasn't able to say because I was cutting out earlier, we were talking about the starters, was I'm really glad John Morant. They're obviously, if he was he would be a starter, so I'm really glad he's a starter. He's been spectacular this year. He'll probably at this rate be one of the MVP finalists outside of the two bigs. So good for him.
Yeah, I've loved Ja since he burst onto the scene in college, and yeah, he's one of my favorites. He was the guy I was hoping to land the year that we took Kobe. The Bulls took Kobe, just because they just weren't high enough up in the draft to take.
Oh yeah, we knew he was.
We knew he wasn't coming, but
Doug, he was linked to us early in that year. I remember I was like, "Who's this John Morant guy?" And he was because they thought he was going to go like 7 or 8. And then he leapfrogged, in the tournament, and then in the NCAA tournament, what he did in those games, and he was like top 2. And they're like, man, he should have went number 1 out there. We did that draft. They would have had him go number 1 to the Pelicans, and which would probably have been better. I think Zion would be a better fit in Memphis. Gritty and not yeah.
Not as much gumbo to eat in Memphis.
Yeah, Memphis, but yeah, he could be like Zach Randolph 2.0. But he's more explosive, and yeah. And all Memphis would have needed was like a point guard or something. Eventually, he probably could have got like Lambda. Crazy how things could have panned out, but yeah, the Bulls are linked to to John Morant early. I remember that too. And then I remember I was like, I don't know. I remember I was kind of a little shaky because I'm like he's like Westbrook. You can get hurt, but he's a stud, dude.
Yeah. He's been everything is advertised and more, and it's been great. So, great to see him playing. Making the All-Star game and being a starter there. And I agree with you guys. No kind of crazy snubs this year. A couple of guys that maybe kind of borderline, but nothing too wild there with those. Jumping over into the what do they call this? The Rising Stars game, the rookie/sophomore games. So we'll do the rookies, we'll do the sophomores, and then we'll do there's 4 guys, I guess, coming up from the G League to play in this game. So rookies are Scotty Barnes from Toronto, Cade Cunningham from the Pistons, Io from Chicago, Chris Duarte from the Pacers, Josh Giddey from the Thunder, Jalen Green from the Rockets, Herbert Jones from the Pelicans, Davion Mitchell from the Kings, Evan Mobley from the Cavs, Alperen Sengun from the Rockets, Jalen Suggs, and Franz Wagner from the Magic.
That's a really good cast, and Franz Wagner is going to be really, really good, man.
Franz is probably the guy that I'm like.
He is.
He is a bad man.
He could be everything they wanted Danilo Gallinari and Andre Barnard. He's 6'10", and he could be like, freaking. Or what's the dude, Jalen Parsons, 6'10", shooter. I mean, another Kevin Durant, pretty much, and matchup nightmare. As long as he can.
He's got a bag though too.
Yeah, he can put the ball on the floor. That's what I'm saying. He's big. That's a key. And I mean, and his playmaking and other parts of his game improve. I like Josh Giddey a lot too. I like Josh Giddey's game. I know I had a buddy from Canada who put me on a Josh Giddey. And of course I love Io. So that's a good. And Mobley's good as a stud too. I've seen Mobley. He's got nice touch.
Yeah.
Definitely
I fell in love with Suggs from Gonzaga, during their tournament last year.
Yeah, that's how they went out in a championship game. But I mean, this is a really good rookie class. So there's some good players in this class. I mean, even somebody like an Io, who went second round. I mean, even the class before that with Mobley and some of those guys. There's some nice young talent in the league. John Moran, obviously, and but man, LaMelo and Suggs, and I mean.
That rookie is really strong.
God made us sit through 4 or 5 years of Cavs Warriors or whatever it was, so we could have the league more talented than it's ever been in the history of time. If I could. I mean, okay, so just the only one I'm shocked on is Jalen Green, but I mean, top 3 pick. He's had some ups and downs. Davion Mitchell, my guy, the greatest nickname ever, Off Night, future all-league defender. He's amazing. Sengun's got potential. Nice to see him in it. Suggs, I'm interested about Suggs and his consistency, but cool to see him in it. Franz Wagner, probably shocked out of the rookies this year because when they made the pick, I was like, I don't know. I was shocked, but he's been awesome. Scotty Barnes too, because when he went fourth, it kind of made a lot of things in that draft go in places we weren't expecting it to. And he's been awesome for the Raptors. The Raptors have like the weirdest, greatest, fanciest built roster ever with just a bunch of dudes who are like 6'7", 6'8" all on the floor, and they made Io's been sensational. I remember when people were asking me about throughout the season last year, like, we think he could go in the draft. I kept saying anywhere from, I thought there were so many good guys in this draft that he could go anywhere from the lottery to like early second round. 38, obviously way too low, but he's been amazing. Herbert Jones as of late has been really good for the Pelicans. So I'm glad and then of course my guy Evan Mobley. Look, he's one of the. If you did just like if we just did like an asset draft and we drafted what we thought the best assets in the NBA were, he would probably be one of the 6 or 7 highest assets in the NBA right now. He's the best defender at 19 years old I've ever seen. Already averaging like 15.7 rebounds. The way he can guard all these different positions, his IQ, his ability to do so many different things, the way that roster works. I love Mobley as what his future is. And yeah, he's a difference maker, man. He's gonna be a difference maker for a long time.
I haven't seen enough of Mobley, but from what I've seen from the highlights, I think he is going to be good. And I remember him at USC because there was another Mobley there too. They were both really good. I think they were both tall. I think the other one was like 6'8" or something. So I think my buddy who kind of wanted the Pistons to take Mobley as opposed to Cade Cunningham, or not Cade Cunningham, I can't remember, but yeah, I agree that I think Mobley's going to be a really good player. Cleveland lost LeBron, but they got, Garland, they got Mobley, and they got Sexton. They got some nice young talent. They had Kevin Porter Jr. and they traded him. I think they got something for that. So, yeah.
Yeah. Isaiah, the guy you're thinking about. Sorry. The guy you were talking about was Isaiah Mobley. He's still at USC. He'll probably be drafted next year. Yeah, he's a guard. He's kind of a guard wing combo player. But no, they got guys, and it sucks like for the Cavs just as a whole. Like Sexton being out, that's tough because you could use him because especially this year with how hurt they are at guard. There's a couple of pieces I'm hoping that they kind of try to get because they have a team that can make some noise in the playoffs. Plus, for what they're going to be in the future with Garland and Mobley and company. They're going to need this year to get their feet wet. Rubio, they had Rubio, and he was playing awesome. And then he got hurt, so it's been tough. But like, I know he was, Bulls guy, but Lauri Markkanen has been great for them too, and Jarrett Allen has been like the fact that the Nets gave up Jarrett Allen for no reason at all, just to throw him into the Harden trade. Hilarious, considering they are literally the team that needs anything because their team is so depleted. It's so funny. The funniest thing in the world.
Dude, I'm not even the whole not Lauri Markkanen, dude. He's probably staying healthy for Cleveland now. He just never panned out for us, and that typically what happens to some Chicago players. They leave Chicago, and then all of a sudden they want to blossom. But that's good for him. And yeah, they're a young team and they're hungry, so I get it.
All right, and then to finish off for the Rising Stars game. On the sophomore side, Precious Achiuwa from the Raptors, Cole Anthony from Magic, LaMelo from the Hornets, Desmond Bane from the Grizzlies, Sadiq Bey of the Pistons, Anthony Edwards from the T-Wolves, Tyrese Halliburton from the Kings, Tyrese Maxey from the 76ers, Jaden McDaniels of the T-Wolves, Isaac Okoro from the Cavs, Isaiah Stewart of the Pistons, and Jason Tate of the Rockets. And then there are 4 G League Ignite guys. I don't know who any of these guys are. Marjon Beauchamp, Dyson Daniels, Jaden Hardy, and Scoot Henderson.
I can comment a little bit on the G League guys. I've heard of Dyson Daniels. I know I've heard of all 4 of them, but the one that's definitely like top tier is Jaden Hardy. He got a lot of buzz. I think he was in high school. I think him. There was when they were juniors, his team and Chet Holmgren's team played each other, and it was a huge deal. He's real good. I kind of like Amani Bates did. Not as hard as Amani Bates did. But Jaden Hardy's a solid player. So it'll be cool to see like Jaden Hardy get out there. Like big on him. That because he would be a freshman right now, like with Holmgren and Boncaro. That recruiting class.
Busted up there on us, Joe. Yeah. Sam, what about anybody on that sophomore roster? Obviously, we talked a little bit about Melo. any of those guys? There's obviously a lot of Pistons on there. Any of those guys kind of stick out to you?
No, and there's a lot of young talent. I got to go back in there. The four guys you named, I've never even heard of those G League guys. But all those other guys, there's just Jalen, Jalen Green, Kay Cunningham. It's good, and I mean, obviously those really bad teams are going to have a lot of young talent like the Pistons and whatnot. So it'd be good to kind of get those teams some exposure as well because, there's, still, they're still in the league. But yeah.
Yeah, no, I actually like that game. I think it's good to showcase some of those young guys, just so that folks kind of see kind of the next evolution because LeBron and KD and those guys, they're not going to be around forever, so it's nice to see kind of the up and coming guys that might be in that All-Star game here in the next couple of years. So,
can you guys hear me again? By the way, I'm sorry, I don't know what happened. Oh, so did you hear my G League take? Because I was trying to mention how I know some of them. I was saying I've heard of all four of them, like Jaden Hardy. He was the one with this like freshman class that's now Chet Holm, like when they were in I think juniors in high school. Him and Chet Holmgren's teams played each other. It was a pretty big deal. He was in the top part of this like freshman recruiting class with like Chet and Banchero, Jabari Smith, guys like that. So he was, I was saying he kind of fell off a bit. And then I did a little bit saying not as much in like pulled the collar, not as much as Imani Bates has, for people who are in the know with that. But so yeah, like Jaden Hardy's a guy. I'm excited to see him like chop it up with these guys. Sorry, my internet's been trashy. I finally connected to something that probably works. That's weird. It's my bad, y'all. Amateur hour over here, bro. Amateur hour.
So that's great. Yeah, you see, as you're kind of talking there, Joe, I'm kind of looking at his stuff. One of these says that he's only 19, not going to be draft eligible for a little bit.
Who, Imani?
Hardy.
Oh.
But yeah, because he was just like he must have just been in. Yeah, he just on January 8th, 2021, he opted out from the remainder of his senior season. He was named to the rosters from McDonald's All-American Jordan Brand game of the Nike Hoop Summit. So yeah, so he's just 19. Usually to be draft eligible for the NBA, I believe you have to be 1 year out of high school. So he's not draft eligible now, but he would be draft eligible next year, I guess.
Yeah, him and Imani both reclassified. So like he was before he went to the G League, he was really a high level, like top 5-star, 4-star, 5-star guy. So to see him be able to be out there, that would be cool. And the sophomore roster, nice to see. Like obviously LaMelo, he's great. Cole Anthony's been really good, surprising like his development over the last few years. Desmond Bane might be Desmond Bane for most improved player. I'm going to throw that into the ethos. He's been awesome for the Grizzlies. Like his shooting ability and like 17 a game, he's been great. Sadiq Bey, formidable player. Nice to see him. Same as Tyrese Halliburton, and Tyrese Maxey. All three of those.
I don't know
Halliburton's
anything about a guy. I haven't seen a Kings game in like 5 years. I know nothing about those guys.
I like Halliburton from Iowa State.
Yeah, he's got a lot of game. Like if the Sixers were able to swing, I know the thing I would want for the Sixers, like it would be to try to swing Simmons for like you could try to get Fox. But if the Sixers were able to get Halliburton, that'd be really good. Halliburton's got a really good potential. Maxey's been great though too for them. Anthony Edwards, like talk about. I mean, he's ridiculous, man. There was a small portion of time where I didn't get it with Anthony Edwards, but then all of a sudden I watched once you watch the tape, it's like, oh, okay, yeah, that's why people love Anthony Edwards. He's different, man. I talk about games like he's a freak.
I agree. Just athletically, he's just like leaps and bounds beyond a lot of guys. He didn't really show that at Georgia. Like I was telling my friend, I'm like, he showed enough to show, hey, I'm a top guy. And then I think he's all right. Well, I'm not gonna, he didn't really want to give 100%. Didn't want to risk injury. I get it. These guys are, obviously making money with their bodies, so I get it. But yeah, just crazy athleticism.
Cool. All right. Anything else you guys want to talk about? I don't see any of the other participants for like the Saturday night stuff, the dunk contest and the 3-point and all that yet. But I'm sure we'll hear about that at some point. I'm weird. I like the 3-point shooting contest much more.
I do. I don't mind it.
Than the dunk contest. I don't get the dunk contest. I think that's all just arbitrary in there. But
when the dunk contest, it's good. It's really good. But when it's bad, it's really bad.
That's true.
Like
that is true. That's true. That is true.
Because there's certain guys that get it. Like Dwight Howard, he got it. He understood it. Zach and Aaron Gordon, they got it. Even Derek Jones, when him and Aaron Gordon had their moment, like they got it, And then sometimes you have like the dunk contest where John Wall is jumping over a dude in a red like jumpsuit. Like that's how it be sometimes.
Yeah.
Unfortunately.
Yeah. Sometimes it's just weird. Sometimes it's just not pretty. So yeah. Cool. All right. Anything else you guys want to talk about before we close it out for the night?
Nope. Everybody stay warm.
Yeah. Week from today is the NBA trade deadline. We might jump back on if something major happens. Probably not. The NBA is usually not, in for big.
Ben Simmons going to get moved to Sacramento.
Yeah.
There's options. I'm going to do a
start over, then we'll be on. But
I'm going to do a NBA trade deadline draft lottery on Sunday with a friend of mine. We're going to talk hoops, college and pro, and we're going to do. I have a theory. I have a thing. I kind of drew up in my head on the way over today. We're going to do an NBA trade deadline draft where like moves we want to see happen. Because there's a lot of stuff that could happen. The problem is it never does. Mm-hmm. So we'll see. Yeah. We'll see who actually is aggressive.
Joe, make sure that you link that on your Twitter, and we will make sure that we retweet that from the main account as well to get some eyeballs on that. Because that's definitely something cool to people be interested in.
Absolutely.
Joe, since you are the new guy and we just lost Sam, why don't you go ahead, give folks your Twitter handle and stuff, let folks know where to find you so that folks can follow you, and then we'll do the same for Sam if he comes back and me as we head out the door here.
For sure. First off, I wanted to say I'm sorry about the internet amateur hour in this place. I don't know what the hell happened. That was bad, but we're all right. The next one won't be nearly as jamoky. Twitter, Joe the Show QCSN, or if you want to hear me, Joe the Show 365 on Twitter. If you want to see me yell a lot more and be much more provocative, that's the spicy Twitter. Facebook at Joe the Show Winkle. That's all the stuff. The Educated Ignorance podcast we're rolling out. Some good stuff on the way. We got some guests. I got a guest or two lined up. We did the Bengals Chiefs side of the weekend on Tuesday that dropped. Hoping to do the Rams. Who'd they play? The Niners Rams side here soon as well. And then this weekend we're gonna have, like I said, the plan is to have my guy Omar, who does another podcast. We've been trying to link for a while, and it's an idea I thought of today. I'm gonna throw out on this NBA trade deadline draft thing we're gonna probably do, and talk a lot of college hoops as well, which is what my favorite sports to talk about. So some good stuff coming on the way, man. I'm hyped to be a part of the team, man. There's a lot of good stuff going on here.
Awesome. Yeah, and we're happy to have you too. Sam, we normally don't do the Twitter thing, but I thought since Joe was the new guy, we'd let him plug his Twitter handle and stuff. You want to plug yourself where folks can find you and all that kind of fun stuff?
Yeah, I think mine is on there. It's at Mark0220. I know me and Andrew used to do that. And I see yours, Doug. So, Joe, you could just type it in your name, and it should just show up on the screen, so everybody should see it. But that's my Twitter handle. I definitely don't have the great content that Joe does, but I definitely make sure I follow.
Hey man, we're trying. We're trying to push some narratives out here.
Yeah,
I'm just glad that all my bad Chiefs takes that were in the first 2 months of the season paid off.
man, I
You
should have.
know, I yelled
Dude, I
about
should
them.
have.
I yelled about.
I could have made so
What?
much money doing the NFL playoffs. I call Green. I call San Fran, Green Bay. Called Rams, Bucks. Called Bengals, Chiefs. Man, and I called another one. Yeah, but yeah.
All right. Another thing I'm doing too. Next week, I'm gonna have a bunch of my friends in our like fantasy group chat that we all in high school buddies and stuff. It's gonna be a shit show because it's gonna be like 7 people. But the goal is we're gonna have us all do a Super Bowl preview sometime next week. It's gonna be the greatest worst thing ever. It's probably gonna be like 2.5 hours, but who cares? It's gonna be a lot of people yelling at each other. It's gonna be like the boardroom the green room just got screaming at each other.
That's
Nonsensical. It's gonna be awesome.
awesome. All right. And that will do it. Like I said, I'm Doogie448. There on Twitter. That's usually where you can find me. Sometimes I'm talking Bulls. Sometimes I'm talking basketball. A lot of times I'm talking nerdy sci-fi stuff, Star Wars type things on there.
Yeah, I talk everything.
Yeah,
I'm definitely
all over the place. If
right
you
there
jump on
with
my
you.
Instagram, you'll see the stuff that I cook because I do that. I'm kind of all over the place. So yeah, I don't really kind of have that clear focus, but that'll do it for us tonight. Want to thank everybody for hanging out with us. Make sure you give everybody a follow, and we will see everybody next time. All right, see you.